Let's get it. Welcome to the Dear Son Show. We have meaningful conversations about life through the lens of fatherhood. It's for fathers, those with fathers, and the fatherless, and nobody's left out. These are the conversations we want our sons to access as they grow through life into manhood, so no topics are off limits. I'm one of your hosts, D. John.
I'm your other host, Jay Black.
Jay Black, how you feeling, my brother?
It's spring. It's
Spring again. Which that ain't even
Yeah.
that ain't even in your region.
Yeah. I slipped out there on you.
And y'all ain't had no internet radio back then.
No.
How you get that?
It creeped down there, man.
Okay.
The good stuff made it.
Spring again.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Y'all don't know that.
Well, it depends. You know, the co-host over here be hot
Y'all
because,
don't-
I don't do the mob deep in those people, man. So I'm,
Shook ones.
we'll start that later.
Shook one. But yeah, spring is a welcome treat here. The only thing I don't like about spring is it's like the wasp and the hornets get noticed the day before. Some jokers is all over the cars, all over the doors.
Yeah. And they little cousins are right behind them, the mosquitoes.
Yeah, can't win for losing.
Can't win. How you living, brother? What's good with you?
Living great, man. Excited about the network. I know I kind of mention that every time, but it's my duty.
That's right.
Get on my Kev on stage promotion.
Yes, sir. As you should be.
Every day, every hour, I got to get to it. So
Yeah. He's worthy.
it's got some things connecting on some platforms,
Mm-hmm.
which is sometimes frustrating because you see something, do something, you like, I know over here it's gonna kill them.
Yeah.
15 views, but we thank God for the views.
We do.
We thank God for all of those views. But yeah, it's content is moving, man. So I know it's connecting. It's just the game of getting it in front of the right eyes with
That's
all
right.
the algorithm, science, and changes. So you back in school though? Spring break over?
I am. Spring break is over. We hit the ground running, man. And sometimes you get in a groove and that ain't the groove you're supposed to be in. So now you got to find your old groove. So, we took a few days, but we back. More importantly, those kids out
Yeah,
of spring break and back in school
get back to
as
it.
they should be, man.
Get back to it.
Top of the show, let's make certain that we like, share, subscribe.
All
Very
the above.
important.
All of the above.
See
Check
the
the link for the Dear Son merch
Yes, sir.
is in the description below, and memberships are available. So if you're subscribed, we thank you. If you want to be a member, show some support. You can peek for a couple dollars.
Yeah.
You can tell us how much you really feel about us for a few more dollars. And hey, if you got it to give, there's a tier for several more dollars. If you want to really say it with your chest, say it with your whole household. We appreciate the members that we got. And we look forward to growth in that area. And you get episodes early in some tiers. So make sure you check the tier. The lowest tier does not. So be mindful of that. But the middle tier and the tier above, you get behind the scenes footage, you get episodes early, you get discounts on merch, and you'll help us shape the network. I think I
Right.
said it before, but I want to keep saying it. We got some other show ideas we want to get out, and we want to run them by those that are investing in us.
That's right.
Say, hey, y'all should think about this, not that.
Correct.
And it may or may not change our mind. I'm kind of bullheaded. We'll get to it though. Let's get right into the episode. Today we are talking about, this is the anniversary episode.
It is.
Anniversary episode, not of the show, but of us.
Of us.
So y'all just hit 10 years.
We hit 10 years. My wife and I hit 10 years of marriage in about 7 days ago.
Yep.
At the time of this release of this recording. And y'all hit the big 20 coming
Big
up,
20.
man.
Big 20 in a couple of days at the time of this recording, but on release is yesterday.
Yeah.
So celebrate us yesterday if you didn't see us on social medias. On the medias, getting social about 20 years. So I want to dive into that. A lot of the more recent content, like marriage,
Mhm.
relationships, have come into the conversation naturally.
Yes.
So I kind of want to stay on theme, and it was just a gift that it happened to be our anniversary, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And but how do you feel about? Because this is your second go round,
It is.
and that's always a different perspective that we have, which brings a value and a different dynamic to the show. But what are your thoughts on today, like marriage, having, with the context of having done it once,
Mhm.
and if you've done it twice, there's something that obviously happened with the first one. But like, how do you feel about marriage today?
My personal opinion about it is worth it for me. It absolutely presses me to be the best version of myself. And I know that sounds cliche and commercial, but it's accurate. Because think about it in the perspective of, if you care enough about a person that you see cares a substantial amount about you,
Yeah.
the last thing you want to do is harm that person or let that person down or leave that person unfulfilled. So I don't want to say it's the pressure, but it's a desire for me to please this person that shows me that everything in her, she's trying to please me.
Yeah.
So that's the key for me, because again, the key that you said is, this is my second go round.
Yeah.
I've seen what it's not supposed to look like. And now I don't want to say that helped me realize what it is supposed to look like, but that's an accurate statement. But I don't want to use that statement to encourage people to be like, if you have any bumps or bruises in your current marriage, don't throw it away like, okay, now I'm ready for the next one. I got it figured out. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. Because at the end of the day, if that first one was salvageable, I would have.
Yeah.
But it was not that thing. So what about you? Like, what is the importance of marriage or because again, this your first still only, and that's a testament.
From this side, I appreciate that. From this side, I couldn't see doing it again. So it, like, that's what I'm saying. It's the dynamic of having it not working out and then going through it again. Like, I applaud you for that. And we'll get to it. Like, there's been some comments on some recent content that we put out where people feel away. And it was kind of mind blowing in terms of the comment for men and women.
Right.
What divorce does to people and how some people get over it, some people don't. Some people are grateful for it, some people are not. But for me, it's been a maturing ride for me. And I've said it before. I came into marriage with expectations based on what I saw in my house.
Right.
And what we lacked early that I bring up now to help others, not to run into not to bump their head where we bumped our head, but we didn't have a lot of conversations about what our expectations were. I think we both just kind of came into it with like, this is what I was used to. It'll fit.
Yes.
And it doesn't always fit. And it wasn't a bad thing, but not talking about it caused some challenges in the marriage that were avoidable.
Yes.
Right. Just, the whole, I've been on a theme about resentment and not using my words and just assuming things. That's something that I missed earlier, is having more conversations about the stuff that mattered. Not that we didn't talk about anything that mattered, but when things got hard, sometimes we found other things to talk about versus, running into that thing and kind of running through it together. So I'm very grateful for the selection, because like I said, I can't imagine having invested that much in a person and it failing and then deciding to do it again.
Listen, it's tricky because I kid you not, at the end of the first, I vowed I'm done. I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
This is not what it is. This is exactly what the horror stories you hear about, because there's a narrative, there's a picture being painted about, if just think about anything in life, but to stay on topic about marriage, there are people that have been through 3 or more failed marriages, and more often than not, man, I kid you not, they are always pointing at the marriage or the other person. But if you really sit down and have a conversation with them, the only common denominator in each of those 3+ failed marriages is that individual themselves.
Yeah.
So you have to then dig into yourself, like, what am I doing? Or what am I attracting? Or more importantly, what am I not doing?
Yeah.
That key component you said, those below surface conversations.
Yep.
Hey, this is what I was taught marriage looks like. This is what you've seen, heard, and saw and was taught that marriage looks like. But what our true identity is and desire is may have absolutely nothing to do with either of those things. Yep. And if you don't have that conversation, it's likely that you'll crash out.
Yeah, and we never got to, did we ever get to not crash out, because neither one of us are abusive, period.
No.
Like with words,
no.
definitely not with violence. I mean, that's just a non-starter. And some killers in her family. There's that part. But so it was I went too far the other way. Like, so if I got angry, I didn't have the tools to actually process my anger into words
Mm-hmm.
that were acceptable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even biblically, there's nothing wrong with being angry. Be
Right.
slow to wrath, right? Be slow to your actions from that anger. But there's nothing wrong with the anger itself. And I know that if I was more open to, like we talked about last time, the right now,
Yes.
the right now conversation, can we
Right.
talk about this? We would have been more successful early. And also, like our family accelerated quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We came in as a blended family, and like we had child every 2 years. The first three were basically 2 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had a break. Then we had 4 and 5 right on the heels of each other. And again, that's not something that we actually talked about. My wife is from a family where she had, it was 3 kids, including her. So she had 2 siblings. I only had 1.
Right.
And like that, to me, that was normal. So, just those things in terms of expectations, I know I could have done a lot better job of voicing my expectations, because that's another thing that sometimes men don't think that they have a say, or what they say matters.
Right.
And I never felt like that, thank God, in my marriage. I just kind of pulled back from actually saying the things that were on my heart, or that were important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it about, as long as, she's cool, everything will be cool. And that can cause some challenges too.
Absolutely, Will, because you'll sacrifice yourself,
Yeah.
and your happiness, your fulfillment, and then you'll look up 2 years from now and not recognize yourself, and you're miserable. And now you're saying you're miserably married, or this marriage is miserable, when in fact you allowed or played a part in it.
Yeah.
And I've actively seen and participated in that exact narrative, man. I did in the first marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw myself continuing those same bad habits and bringing those bad habits into my new relationship. Thank God, this wife of mine, my current wife, is a communicator, you know?
Yeah.
So I had the mentality of, I approached my relationships like parenting, how I was parented, if you will. So I'm not going to tell you something 12 times.
Yeah.
So that's what my parents told me. If I tell you once, that's for you. I tell you again, that's a warning per se. The third time that this exact issue comes up, we have a problem.
Yeah, things flying.
Right. So now you take that mentality, that sternness, into a relationship. It's not the same. Now you're talking 2 adults. You're talking an emotional being typically. Typically, the logic is men operate off logic, women operate off emotion. So now, because there's a different understanding or approach to the same exact issue or problem, you're thinking of it perhaps strategically as a man, like, okay, this piece, when she's thinking, perhaps, I'm not trying to make a general blanket statement, but more often than not, this woman is thinking of it, how this made me feel,
Right.
how this affected me, how this affected us, when you're just trying to see the common sense of this scenario. And she's like, I don't care about that common sense stuff. You said this, it made me feel like this. And that in turn made me say this, and that made you feel like that.
Yeah.
The emotional intelligence of men, we shy away from the conversation once you start using that F word.
Yeah.
Feel. I don't want to talk about or say, or I don't know how to say.
That part.
I feel. That's not a comfortable or recognizable word for men, typically, historically. I see a lot more men in our circles now using these words and learning this behavior, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But that's not typical.
Yeah, just based on some of the, like I referenced earlier, some of the recent content that's been posted on social media. It's not that men, by and large, don't have feelings. They talk about their feelings after they're beyond the hurt.
Yes.
So the posting I'm talking about was about Corey Hughes, which is it's out at the time that this episode is out. It came out Monday of this week, or Monday of the week that this one released, and he was talking about what the hurt associated with divorce is, and I was kind of pressing him, and he started listing these things, and I set up the post to highlight the phrase "the hurt is" because he went into a series of things like what the actual hurt is, because I was pushing him to identify it, to put words to it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the comment section, I know at least 50 to 60 men were finishing the statement. The hurt is boom, 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 boom. The hurt is I felt like I failed you. Hurt is I gave him my all, and she walked. It was all these things,
right?
And it was interesting to me because, like you said, with the narrative is that men give men. Not even women have adopted it, but I associate I charge the men with establishing this narrative because son, just power through it. Don't cry. Don't be weak, whatever. And we associate tears with weak. We associate feelings with being weak. But now the feelings are there.
Correct.
And they're going to come out. And the longer that they're masked and forced to come out, then you have the situations where, you get out of control, you get irate, you get, it could be a number of things that the way those feelings are acted out. So for me, it's definitely important to pass on to my sons, which are way more emotionally intelligent than I was at either of their ages. Today, they're 17 and 10.
Right.
Yeah, 17 and 10 today. And I had to pause and look at it because sometimes I felt like the not rage, but that feeling of why you why you frowned up? Why you look like you about to tear up? Like I had to get past that because emotions, we're taught that emotions can be regulated by words.
Yes.
Stop crying. Immediately you stop crying. Like that is a taught behavior that is really that easy. So you disconnect the actual feeling from the activity because you have to. Because stop crying or I'm gonna give you something to cry about.
Right.
Well, clearly I have something to cry about, ma'am, sir.
I wouldn't be crying. I would be crying.
I'm already there. You want a dog pile. And that's a common thing. I'm sure some people probably finish that statement as I was saying it.
Mm-hmm.
But it again, it's really important at a young age that our sons can see us have emotions. And I think it's also important for our sons to understand how we feel about marriage.
Yes.
So it's good that we're having this conversation and they can choose to listen, but I know I need to be more intentional about, son, this is why I appreciate marriage, because that doesn't seem to be passed along as frequently as it probably should.
It is not. It is not. Historically, man, and I keep using that word because that's where a lot of our habits stem from. Yeah. To your point about stop crying before I give you something to cry about, or turn the emotion off. It leaves a spiral, an endless spiral of incomplete emotion.
Yeah.
You didn't allow me to work my way all the way through this. So now it's suppressed. It'll be there forever. So think about the hundreds or perhaps thousands as you get older and older of emotions that you've been systemically trained by your loved ones. Imagine that. It's your loved ones instilling this behavior in you to not get the complete or run the gambit of this emotion, not get this all the way out, not try to make sure that I talk about everything about this issue that's bothering me so I can figure out why it's bothering me and figure out what I can do to fix it or address it. So now that could play a part in why your relationships don't work. That could play a part in why you're not the best version of yourself in a relationship. You don't have a complete version of yourself to offer to someone else, or vice versa. They can have that same issue or have experience with people who've had this issue that you have. So now they're on the fence. I can't be 10 toes in. I'll give you 5, but I got to keep 10 toes, my other 5 toes over here on stable ground, as it's referred to, because now they feel like 10 toes in a relationship is a slippery slope. Not necessarily. It depends on the level of conversations, communication, understanding, and comprehending what you're hearing. Yeah. We could talk all day long, but if you don't know, or I don't explain to you what this means to me that I'm saying, and then I have to then ask you, what did you just hear out of what I just said? So now, and sometimes again, our human nature, we take that as offense. Oh, you're trying to act like I'm not listening to you. No, that's not it at all. I would love for you to just tell me what you got out of what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
So now if I hear anything about that I feel like, oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. It could be offensive.
Yeah.
And you feel offended when in essence, I didn't mean to offend. That was not my intent. You didn't understand what I was saying here. No slight to you. I need to do a better job of conveying this thought.
Yeah.
I dropped the ball somewhere. Own that. We get on the fence. Now you in your defense mode. I'm in my defense mode. We should not be. I messed up. Instead of saying, you heard me all wrong. I didn't do a good job of communicating to you what I was trying to tell you in that moment.
Word choice is important, man. I've learned that later. I've applied the lesson later in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to talk about picking your wife, right? What was different about your requirements from the first one to the second one in terms of picking your wife? Because I don't know if my dad and I had a conversation about picking a wife and here's what it looks like. He demonstrated, you know what I mean? And we had the conversation about when I told him that I thought I was ready to get married.
Yes.
But it wasn't while I was seeking a wife that I don't think we had a conversation about how to pick a wife.
Right.
So what's there if you're open to kind of talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like what was important to you in picking a wife the second time around that is more successful?
Honestly, neither of my marriages were intentional. As crazy as that sounds, watch this. The first one,
down the mountain.
The first was circumstantial. Irresponsible. She's pregnant. Come on, I got you.
Make an honest woman out of her.
Yeah, because I grew up in a single parent household. I don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
You know, that's the whole narrative. I see a lot of men say that, and a lot of times it does not work.
Yeah.
That's another conversation for another day. After that, again, I said at the top of this episode, I vowed I'm done with this. I'll never get married again. So I'm actively dating, just trying, enjoying myself, if you will. I come across this young lady.
Mm-hmm.
She's everything that I enjoy, conversational wise, etc. So now we went on a date. I saw her every day after that date. I wasn't seeking to have a serious or committed relationship with her. I just enjoyed the relief that my mind had when I was in her presence.
So I mean, I understand, but that's still a picking quality. It doesn't mean that you were. So I get what you're saying about not being intentional. That kind of brings it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you knew what resonated with you, and she showed those things.
So I would have to say, right. So to your point, you're right. Glad you pointed that out. She brought me peace. I'm such a grinding push, pull, force, ball of rage, especially after that first marriage when I was on edge. I wasn't violent. I don't want that to come across like that.
Sure.
But I became ridiculously intentional about life. I was like, I'm going to be a success. I'm going to get this. If I want it in life, I'm going to get it. No, it's not no. It's just hold on a minute.
Yeah.
So now when I got around her, I was able to breathe, exhale, and kind of lay back and just enjoy the moment, man. Everything wasn't about what I got to do tomorrow, what I'm doing next week. Okay, that didn't work today, so tomorrow. I was in such a scratch and survive mode where with her, it was a living mode. I was alive when I was sat down with this lady. And to this day, that's how it still is, man. And we work together. So a lot of people be like, I don't know how you do that. It's a balance. So the downside that could peek its head in is even in our personal time, business conversations are slipping into the conversation. It's like, oh,
yeah,
no, talk to me tomorrow morning about that. And she'll receive it. You're right. So that's just a testament back to the answer to that question, that peace, that turn the grind mode off, turn the entrepreneur mind off, I'm always in, I don't want to use the word hustle, but I'm always on the grind. 3,000 things a day becomes one thing for the moment when I sit down with her.
The now and never mentality.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she, who she was at her core, your interactions, you spending time with her, allowed you to make room for her in your life? Because it sounded like you said, you were very intentional. I'm going after this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't sound like a woman of any caliber would fit,
Right.
especially coming off of a divorce.
Absolutely.
But the value that she brought to your life in terms of helping you slow down and realize what's important caused you to make space for her.
Absolutely.
Which what I think is phenomenal, because I don't know how that'd be something, holler at us in the comments, let us know if your approach was that intentional, or maybe intentional is not the right word, but if that's how you got to marriage.
Yes.
And one thing that we talked about, I don't know if we talked about on this platform. I know we had an idea to talk about it on the other platform with our spouses, but when people are in another marriage, they had a prior marriage, and in your case, it was one, if it was 1, 2, or 3, and then they get to a place where they're successful. It's like, did you have to have that experience to see who you are, or is it just a matter of maturing over life?
Right.
Because that's the piece of, that's the angle, that's the lens for me and my wife, is that we grew through things that some people grow through before they get married.
Right. Right.
And then some people got married a lot earlier than we did. We were 25 and 24. I was turning 26 later that year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, early career. Like I said, it was a blended family. So by all expectations, we were fully adulting.
Yes.
But we were newly adulting, and neither one of us had been in that situation before. Like, we had different references. Her parents are still married. My parents are still married. So I think we value marriage similarly, but again, we just didn't have those conversations about, this is what do we expect
right
out of marriage? And if you don't have an expectation for y'all, you'll only be able to judge it by what you've seen before, whether that was in your house or outside of your house.
True, which may or may not work.
Yeah,
for y'all.
Yeah, I think I said it before. What worked for my dad with my mom doesn't necessarily work for me with my wife.
Yes,
it's not the same people, different time, and different upbringings, similar core values, but different characteristics in the household. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is what has been the biggest benefit of marriage for you?
Stability, and by nature, I tend to err on the reckless side. You know, like I told you, the motorcycle scene and the my male cousins that I hang with, like we're reckless. I'm not proud of it, but for lack of a better word, we're reckless. So
were
yes, thank you.
Yeah,
we were reckless.
Verb tenses.
So the beauty of it is now that just doesn't call me like that anymore because of the responsibility. I have accountability at home, right? So now, whereas if somebody's like, hey, this is going on Friday, we go and do this and we'll be back Monday, I'm good.
Enjoy.
Yeah, y'all go ahead.
Enjoy.
Because now I would have been like, yeah, I'm doing this. Whereas now it's like, case in point, I have a circle of friends, they travel a lot, right? So now one of the guys introduced a trip to the group. He was like, we're going to Aruba. I'm not going to Aruba. I haven't taken my wife to Aruba. I would go, but I'm not going to Aruba with a group of my homeboys before I take my wife to Aruba. Yeah. So that level of accountability keeps me grounded, keeps me stable and humbled enough to say, I don't know how the trip is going to go, safety-wise or agenda-wise. I have no idea. However, because I know I haven't taken her or just maybe some trips aren't meant, and this, I'm going to start a fire right here. Some of these male trips that your homeboys are taking, I'm gonna be honest, man. It's not married men shouldn't be on some of these trips, man.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem saying that. My friends know that. I voice it. I don't shy away from it and blame it on something else. Like, oh man, I got a meeting or I got to work. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I know what they're gonna be on. I just know the tendency of why 15 men going to the Dominican Republic together. And man, that sound like shade to the guys that go to the Dominican Republic. But again, I don't know what you're doing there. But for me personally, I don't see a reason for me and now I did it before. It was for my homeboys' bachelor party. But however, me today, I'm not going on a 15 guy trip to the DR or some of these other places.
I think the important thing that you said is what you're prone to, like, you.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it's a tendency to blame the guys, right? So it's, if the guys are going, the guys are going.
Right.
At a certain age, you're responsible for you putting yourself in certain situations. And if you're trying to negotiate that, the reality is you just want to go.
You just want to go.
It's something you want to get off. Which brings up a point of, there's a reference to sowing your wild oats or getting stuff out your system. Do you think there's any validity to the need to get stuff out your system? Or is that just a cop-out to not wanting to be responsible in life?
Both. And it's tricky. And this is why I know that sounds political, but I want to be honest. There are things that I have done that the curiosity of it will eat you alive. The lure of the fantasy you've heard about certain things that you think is so great and so amazing. And man, I'm missing out on life if I don't experience this thing. And then I've experienced it. So now if it presents, it doesn't call me, it doesn't speak to me because I know for a fact that's not for me. Or that phase is behind me. I know for a fact that's not what people say it is for me. Maybe you enjoy it that way and it's amazing for you. So whatever that is, that could be people like, man, I love to travel and go somewhere every single weekend. That's not the life for me.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you locked into a marriage and the grass greener on the other side and I can't move around, I can't jump around freely. If you do that for a while, you'll realize you're tired of living out of suitcases anyway. So I want to roll a couple of these questions to you because the other side of this coin, this will help a lot of people as well. The longevity, 20 years, same marriage, same wife, first wife, only wife, these same issues, questions, concerns, foundations. A lot of people that, like what I just said, I've experienced these things because I had single phases. You've been married since you're 24 years old. So 20 years later, there's people who will make the argument, man, there's certain prime years of your life that typically a man or a woman experiences this, or this. How does that affect you? What is your take on that? Do you feel like, and you could be as transparent with this as you like, do you feel like, if I could write in a gap to do this, I would, or that just didn't hit me like that?
There was phases where I thought I was missing out on stuff, and it angered me, right? And then even in some cases, curiosity pushed me in that direction. Like, let me see if I can go find out if this is a real thing. If I, if this is something that I'm really missing out on. And the answer was always it was never worth it.
Yes.
And it could be anything as small as, I wish that I had bought this car before.
Right.
Like I made a stupid decision when we were living in Dubai. My family would come home. They would come home every summer.
Right.
And going into year 3, I was like, man, I'm tired of just doing the math, renting a car, leasing a car monthly. I was like, man, I could just buy a used car over here. And that'll be the way we close out. When I leave, I'll sell it. Maybe we have some money.
Yeah.
I text my wife, and I knew I was setting it up just to blame her. That was a Ford Explorer with the third row. I forgot what year. This is 2016, so maybe it was like a 12 or 13. Whenever they came out with the third row, there was that option. And there was 7 of us in the family.
Yeah, yeah.
So a 7-seater. Then there was a BMW X5. BMW has been my dream car. Like it's changed from the 318 to 325 to 525,
Yeah.
6 series. Like I'm talking about from like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I hit my wife thinking, she gonna talk me off the ledge and help me make a smart decision. I said, what do you think I should do? She said, I mean, you work hard, you deserve what you think you want to get. Boy, I bought that X5.
Oh.
On the second day, the AC stopped working, which, come to find out, it worked intermittently.
Here and there.
Here and there. But we talking about living in the desert.
No, sir.
In the summer, I think this is probably June to July. So we averaging 125, 130.
Come on.
It's literally not safe
to be in there.
To be in that and you can't cool off.
Right.
So I get it. AC's down. Cost me another couple grand. Go drop it off. They got it for a week. I go pick it up. Go about a week. Something's wrong with the AC again. It was it was working. We didn't think it was that, and all of this is inshallah.
Yeah.
Because everything over there is inshallah. It's just 7 days inshallah, right? So I probably didn't have the car for about a month with repairs. I get the car. I'm so frustrated. I've almost spent another 70% of what I actually paid for it in repairs. And I'm like, you know what? I went to work one day. They were back. I went to work one day. And when they came back, it really made me feel stupid because they couldn't all fit in. So now this is just like
double negative.
My vehicle
that
I'm taking around, or, it didn't make sense. Even if I left the car for them to have during the day, it was only a 5-seater.
Right.
6 of them. So it was just all stupid, but I was trying to scratch this itch that I had that I thought I was being kept from or being held from.
Yeah.
And the reality is there were other points in the relationship. One of my partners had a BMW and he was going to sell it to me for a decent price when we first got married.
Yeah.
I said, nah, man, she ain't gonna never go for that. Never talked to her about it.
Not a word.
Then it would have made way more sense. He had like a 740. He was going to let me get it. And it was only 4 of us in the family. And it wasn't going to be a big deal. The payment, it would have made sense. But me in my head, I talked myself out of it. Like I do I did a lot of things in my marriage of, she'll never go for that.
Whole conversation by yourself.
Whole conversation, judge and jury, tried the case.
Yeah.
Only for me to be frustrated and then still not talk to her about it.
Yeah.
So I know that was like, there were way deeper issues that I had, trying to figure out if I was, missing out on life or like even going overseas.
Right.
When I went to Iraq for a year, that was a money move. And I was like, man, I gotta get it.
Yeah.
And I had my oldest son, who was the youngest at the time, who was the youngest of 3. I left a week before he turned 1. But that was one of the things where I was like, man, I can't miss out on this opportunity. Money. So yeah, it's been times in the marriage where because of my lack of communication with my wife and thinking that, again, having not set the expectation, what is our life gonna look like? Having that conversation of, that would have been the time to figure out, even if that changes over time, you can see if you're 2 inches apart or 2 miles apart from jump.
Correct.
I'm thinking this way, you thinking that way. You're gonna end up in Hawaii. I'm end up in New York City.
Correct.
It ain't gonna work. It just ain't
East
gonna work.
And West.
So there's more maturity now where, again, I might not have the conversation immediately, but I'll definitely have the conversation before I start trying to figure out, trying to scratch an itch that doesn't make sense.
And on that same note about the conversations being had, right? I have to point this out because I feel like if I would have made this mistake, and I call it a mistake, and you'll know why in a moment. If I would have made this mistake, my wife and I today wouldn't be together. I think right now more often women than men because of conversations I've heard and had and been privy to. We're in our 40s. So in this range, women are far more intentional with their dating and their time, right? As they should be. But they're robbing themselves. People are robbing themselves because men too, don't get it twisted. Men are out here actively seeking, I need a wife. That's fine. But now they're dating and they're holding up this magnifying glass to the person. You're overly critiquing, like, that's not marriage material. Oh, that's going to be a problem in the marriage. Oh, that's not going to work. I'd never tolerate that. I wouldn't be able to put up with that. You haven't even had a conversation with the person. You don't know how embedded that thing is. It could just be something, a phase they're going through or something they're dealing with that they're willing to let go and never do that thing or experience that again because of what you bring out in them. So now you didn't even attempt to have some level of interaction. And let's see how this person acts and reacts around me in my presence.
Yeah.
Because some of the habits that a person has, it'll go away or it'll just kind of go dormant because that's just not the vibe we own. And being with you make me not even want to operate or move that way. Mm-hmm. So now I remember one of the dates we were on, my wife said, she date then wife now, she was like, I want to have another child. That was almost a deal breaker for me. I had 3 children already. Again, I'm done with marriage. I'm certainly, in my mind at the time, done with having children. Might not make it. She was like, are you open to that? I haven't been. I was honest enough to say that.
Yeah.
So imagine if I would have stuck to my guns that I thought I was so convinced of. We're done. No, I'm never having children again. So if that's what you're after, might as well not talk to me right now. She would have shook my hand. I would have shaken her hand. We're done. Whereas now we've had 2 more sons together. And I'm a far better dad, father, parent now than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate for my first group of children. But I thank God for the opportunity that I was provided this chance to be this father and learn this about myself. I would have written all of that off for my selfishness of saying, I'm free now. I don't want to have any more children. Be more intentional, be mindful, be open. The universe will put something right in your lap and sit there and smile and laugh like this everything you asked, wished, dreamed, and prayed about. And you're finna talk yourself out of it before you even experience it.
Do you think that it like that's been the biggest change to you as a person from this marriage?
Yes.
That part right there.
Yes, I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I learned a lot about myself, man. Some of the things that I was raking myself over the coals about. I was disappointed in myself for a lot of decisions and movements I made.
Yeah.
The first half of my life. I kid you not. I not on a morbid note, but I kind of wrote life off.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just what it is. Just gonna ride this thing out, get money, be successful, live, do what I want, when I want, how I want. My name will never ring in the rafters about anything. I'm not trying to be some famous, well-known person for anything. I just want to be able to operate in life that if I need or want something, I'm able to go get it without saying, well, I can't do that right now. That was the only aspiration I had left in life. But I had a level of friends and loved ones and Ryan Holmes and the Travis Mitchells and the Marquis Hendersons and these guys, they literally poured into me, man. They used to call me every day. Man, I ain't heard from you. And that encouraged me to open up to this young lady, man. Yeah. And life as I know it has been different and better ever since. I kid you not.
I think win or lose, fail or success, the journey is going to expose more to you about you than you think it may or that you expect.
I promise.
You got to be open to who you really are, because who you think you are and who you present to be and who you are may be different, and you may not realize it. And marriage is that mirror. It's that sounding board that lets you know that nah, you ain't really got it all together, and there's some things about you that you need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to fix it, then don't get married. I get that's cool.
Right.
So this is not listen to this episode and run out to get married, but just have I wanted to have the conversation, number one, because I know we value it similarly.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of people that don't, men and women.
Right.
So I just wanted to offer perspective about what it is to have, loved and lost and tried again, and what it is to fight through and mature together, because I don't like, I guess based on your experience,
mm-hmm.
you can't, my experience is foreign to you.
Yes.
And based on my experience, your experience, I'm like, man, how'd you do that? You know what I'm saying? So it's, I think if you're open to understanding who you are and working through your challenges, it presents you as a better candidate for marriage, love, and relationships if you're open to that.
Mm-hmm.
And stand on theme. I definitely want my sons to have that self-awareness to know. I think it's my duty to demonstrate and give them an example
right.
of what it is, and they'll have an opinion based on that. But I also want them to understand for themselves that understand who they are and what it is to be in that kind of commitment, that kind of covenant with the person. Because it's not one of those jump in, jump out things.
No.
I know that's the tone of society now is, let's see where this goes.
Right.
And to a degree, you have to do that. But if you're looking for exit signs in your marriage, you'll find them every mile.
I promise you will.
Every mile you'll find it on that
Yep.
marriage highway. If you're looking for an off ramp,
Yep.
there'll be one there. So
agreed.
It's on you to keep on pushing.
It is.
Keep on pushing. But I'm thankful for, man, Tony. I couldn't even seeing the example of my parents. It's hard to fathom 20 years of a thing.
Yeah.
Whether that's working, whether that's just being alive at 20. It's hard to fathom 40.
Right.
But I'm grateful that my marriage has been sustained. I believe in it. I know it's not for everybody, but it's definitely for me, and I'm excited about next 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years after that, Lord willing.
Yeah. As you should be, man.
Lord willing.
Y'all great people, man. Love y'all family. And so we sit back and we look at how you and Keisha interact. And it's amazing, man, the communication, and y'all like, hey, this is what we got. Beautiful children. And it seemed like everybody is in go mode, man. It's a bunch of moving parts.
Yeah.
But then still at the end of the day, like you say, 20 years in, that's not happenstance. You don't look up on 20 years, or you don't just ignore a person like, you get on my nerves, but I'm not gonna deal with it. It won't last. If there's not a true commitment or a true connection and true love in that, I don't care what it is. There's not a person I know that could miserably do a relationship for 20 years and just be like, we just here. It's a business arrangement. Nah,
neither one of us could do that. And what you just said is interesting, because when you think about what's become of our marriage, like we wouldn't have met y'all,
right?
We wouldn't be here. Like it's so much life that wouldn't happen, and people will say, something different happened. Could be as great. I don't know that.
Right.
That's why when people say, would you do it again? I don't want to rethink that, because that's undoing so much of a web of my life that I love.
Yes.
Would I do it? Would I choose differently? Would I choose different children?
Change nothing.
Absolutely not.
Nothing.
Absolutely not. There's ups and downs, good days and bad days.
Yes.
And I wouldn't want to go through the set of circumstances that I've been through, or the set of circumstances that are waiting for me with anybody else other than my wife and the family I got right now.
That's right. Change one thing, you change everything.
Dominoes.
So leave it.
Dominoes.
Yeah.
Well, sweet spot. We've managed to hit the mark. I'm encouraged by this conversation, man. I like I said, we both happen to be in the same month, 10 and 20 are definitely milestones. So
yeah.
Congratulations to y'all. Much success for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, Lord willing.
We receive it. Same to y'all. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Happy anniversary.
Absolutely.
Much more love, much more success. and longevity.
Still got to get the yard done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My people's, my yard done. Keisha tried to put my blood cousin's wife, so she's my cousin now. She's from Jamaica too.
Yeah.
Keisha come in the room talking about some so-and-so on the phone. We just start speaking patois.
Why not?
Keisha ain't know what was going on.
No, over her head.
She didn't know what was going on.
Over her head.
And like I said before, my mom was from, it's her business. I'm from yard.
Don't worry about me.
Speaking of my wife, got it again.
Yeah.
Chocolate Princess Volume 1. Run out and get that for your young scholars of color, your young women, 5 to 15. Very well written, very well illustrated.
Yes.
Link is below. If you're listening, if you're watching, you just saw something flash across the screen. So run out and get that. What you got?
Disun merch, Disun network.
Yep.
Pay attention. Be intentional.
Pay attention, indeed, man. And the book that I rarely promote, Dear Son, 20 Life Prompts to Facilitate Effective Parenting, is being printed now. So it was an ebook, but I have paperback and hardback, hardcover options available. I'm waiting for my samples. So when they come, prepare to be sick of me.
Rightfully so.
Be like, this is the book. Yeah, this is the book.
Yeah.
So it's more than a notion. Ebook is available now. It'll still be available. But we about to get pushing with this thing.
Yes, Lord, and I'm with it. Go forward.
That's gonna do it.
That's gonna do it.
We appreciate you guys. God bless you. Peace.